He started being more mindful and conscious of how he can take some of that emotional burden or that mental burden off of my plate. So if you are a man in this room, this is something you can do to support the women in your life, because we all do it. Yeah. We all know exactly what we're talking about. So I just say, like, pay attention to that so that you guys can be more successful together. You know, my husband wants me to be happy, and when he figured out that this is something that really makes me happy, it really has shifted that dynamic in our life. Oh, great, where did you get the money from? Did you work really hard to get money? And she goes, I stole it from the bank. I was like, oh, we don't steal from banks. So, you know, it starts young though, and these conversations around money start young for us in our house, just like my parents did with us.
Great. So let's talk about the challenges, because those are always helpful to, not helpful, sometimes it's hard to relive them, but helpful to explore, because we learn a lot and it helps cut down your learning curve, right? That's why we come to conferences. So if you wouldn't, you can start, Vina. What has been the biggest challenge as an entrepreneur?
All of them.
Pick the biggest one, and the biggest learning you got from it.
Yeah, so I think for me, right, as an entrepreneur, it's been really tough to give up control. I was actually just talking to Jonathan about this out in the hallway. I'm kind of a control freak when it comes to everything in my business. And so as you scale and as you grow, so our portfolio, as of the end of this month, it'll have transacted in over $800 million in assets. And you cannot get to that scale without trusting other people and bringing on other team members and other people to fill in those gaps. So in Liz's presentation earlier, she said, do the things you're really, really, really great at and leave everything else to someone else. And so I think actually implementing that, knowing you need to do it is one thing, but implementing it is another thing. And as I've been able to transition roles and responsibilities to other people and empower them and trust them to make those decisions, it's gotten better for me, and it's given me the ability to scale and really focus on the strategy side, which is important when you're trying to build a business.
Yeah. That's a great one. How about you, Julie?
You know, I was a dabbler. They will hold you back. And so my commitment level was I was interested, and Michael was talking about that this morning. I had a lot of interests, and I didn't zero in on any specific interest, and it cost me a lot of time. I didn't trust other people. I thought I had to do it all myself, and just by nature of not believing in myself. And so if you're a fellow dabbler out there, then I'd encourage you. One of the things that helped me out was I just learned, like, okay, zero in, find clarity, take time. It's okay to step away, to gain that clarity, and to say, who am I and what do I actually believe in? Like, and then that was more about personal development than anything, because especially when, you know, depending on what your family dynamics are, I had a great family, but I was the little kid sister. I have 3 older brothers. And just like rewiring some of my thinking is saying, you know what, anything is possible, you can do it. And to chase that passion and that fire that's within you, just like Liz was talking about, you know, like what is that core within you? And so really, I would say over the last 3 years, everything has ignited. It's been a slow path to get there, but the more I have focused on, you know, just being clear and then pursuing more of what makes me happy and fulfilled, it just snowballs after that. And so I want to encourage you, like you're not alone if you're on the fence, but the moment you actually make a commitment, that's when everything shifts. Like for me, like everything, and I've watched it with other people, like you make that commitment, your life will change. And I mean, hey, we commit to a lot of different things wholeheartedly, except most often we're not committing to ourselves. And it's a scary commitment to make and to believe. So I had to learn to believe in myself and overcome a lot of thinking that was clouding me. And the more you rid yourself of that stinky thinking, you can really gain traction.
Yeah, it's great. What you, Savannah?
I would say my biggest thing was the work-life balance, especially as I transitioned out of my full-time job. Before, when I was working full-time, I'd be working full-time at the hospital, come home from work, do dinner, bath time, bedtime with my kids, and then from 8 o'clock till midnight every night, my husband and I were working on this business, working on real estate. And so when I actually got to leave my full-time job and do real estate full-time, I was still working all day, doing dinner, bath time, bedtime with my kids, and working every night from 8 to 12. And my husband's like, isn't this why you quit your job so you don't have to do this? And it was a huge shift of like, okay, the reason I am investing in real estate is to have this time freedom. And it's a constant reminder to me, because as an entrepreneur, you want to do all the things all the time. And the to-do list is never ending. And so for me, it's intentionally shutting it off to have that balance.
That's a great point. I'd love to go there. I think one of the things when we started to our community wasn't just about investing, women investing, but it's about how do you do it in a balanced way? Because we wear a lot of hats. Everyone wears a lot of hats. And no one gets into this so they can work a million hours. So let's talk about the balancing act, because there's no such thing as an exact balance. If I'm here right now, literally right now, my daughter has her orientation kindergarten. Tonight, my son has his first dance. Firsts, both of them, on the same day while I'm here. So, you make choices. So I'm not balanced right now. I'm not being a mom mode. I'm being here with all of you. So how do we do that in a way that works for our lives? Because it's hard. I mean, it's hard even just quite honestly for me today, to be perfectly frank. So how do you do it? How do each of you do it? Or what have you navigated in your own lives that you've created this? We can balance, but how do we do it in a peaceful way, right? It's hard for a lot of people, and it's hard for me. So not that we all do it all the time, but when it does work for you, what is the recipe that has worked for you? How about you start, Julie?
That's a great question. So my husband and I are both, full-time real estate. And so it creates it interesting. You have this time that is available. And I happen to absolutely love what I do. I love networking and getting to know everybody. And I love being in the space, the capacity to serve my investors well. And so it does create some interesting lines, because this is my career, it's my hobby, it's also my life mission to serve investors and to support them in their financial, growing their portfolios. So when you look at what you're doing, when you transition from that W-2 type space into, well, now I get to build into legacy space, the lines, I think, become quite different. And so I did look for harmony versus balance. And my husband actually was also pointing out, and I think it was one day, it's really insightful, is that if we were walking a balance beam, your arms are out and you're kind of going back and forth a little bit. And a lot of times when we say balance, we think that we have to just be like perfectly like we're walking, and it's a perfect straight line. And actually, balance looks like this. It looks like, okay, well, right now, I'm here and my kids are having these firsts, but I'm going to be dipping back over there. And so really honoring that. But I have become better. I can't see my family in the back of the room, but I think I'm becoming better at shutting down at nighttime and not working at night. But again, it's a challenge for me because I love what I do.
Yeah. How about you, Vina?
Yeah, I'm still looking for the balance. I think this is something that is like very, very, very challenging. Similar to you, like my kids were supposed to start their first day of preschool today, and I'm here, and I was thinking about the logistics. We're in Frisco, so we're like 40 minutes north of here, and I was like, if I get up at 5, I can get there, I can get them off, and then I can come directly from school to here. But really, as women, especially in this field, we are constantly making choices. And let's be honest, mom guilt is real. There is never a moment where I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going off to this amazing conference where I know it's going to do wonderful things for my job, my career, my family, for my kids' legacy. But it's totally fine because they'll be fine without me. No, that mom guilt is always there. I have a whole entire village around me who holds my entire world up. We hire out a lot of help so that when I do have free time, I can spend it playing with my kids. Like, I don't do dishes in my house. I hate it. I hate domestic work. I am not a domestic laborer. And I hire out really great help to take care of that so that I don't have to do dishes when I have a free 20 minutes. I can spend that time playing with my kids and cuddling with them and watching these awful Coco Melon videos that I don't know who
I don't even know
invented
what that
those.
is.
This is like the part of my life I'm in right now where I'm like cursing Coco Melon every 2 seconds. But no, we have a lot of help, and I will say too, and there's a lot of men in this room, and I will say that nothing that I do is possible without the help and support of a partner who is involved, and he has a very demanding job. He works as well, and when he comes home, he is present. He has started taking a lot of the emotional labor that I've done for years and years and years off of my plate. And what that means is he will see, hey, the kids are starting school, we need to go get backpacks, get them into the car and go get them backpacks without me having to ask for it or having to think about it. So he started being more mindful and conscious of how he can take some of that emotional burden or that mental burden off of my plate. So if you are a man in this room, this is something you can do to support the women in your life, because we all do it. Yeah. We all know exactly what we're talking about. So I just say, like, pay attention to that so that you guys can be more successful together. You know, my husband wants me to be happy, and when he figured out that this is something that really makes me happy, it really has shifted the dynamic in our household.